World Combat Sports. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. This is World Combat Sports Catchweight episode 711. And you know what it is. It's all about boxing tonight. It's all about the hoopla and why it's all going down once again with some familiar names such as Floyd Mayweather, Gervonta Davis, and Devin Haney. So, with that said, let's get right to it. So if you don't know now, you know. It's been floating around social media. Gervonta Davis, if he's not making, well, it's been going around. I can't really put the blame on Gervonta Davis. I gotta put it on Devin Haney too. You know what I'm saying? This pandemic has basically brought the best and the worst out of some people. It has forced them into a situation where they have too much time on their hands to think. If they're not active in the gym 24 hours, I'm talking about the 24 hours that would usually be invested per week to put your mind to use in what you make a living for, and trying to come up with new ideas for your next opponent, or trying to assess what happened in training or sparring or whatever the case. You have these fighters out here that has a lot of time on their hand on trying to create relevancy and potentially trying to make a future fight. So Gervonta felt some type of way that Floyd Mayweather was training Devin Haney. Now, I can't say he being sensitive. The only thing I can make of it, of course, they're in the same division. And also, Gervonta, being the boxing is about to start, kick back up. One of his tweets he let out, he was going to do fight camp in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? And now it's off because, Floyd Mayweather's training Devin Haney. But in my opinion, I wouldn't look at it as such a big deal since Floyd has known Haney since he was a youth. And they've had a before he met Gervonta Davis. You know what I'm saying? So they have that backstory. They have a history. And that should go without saying. But when it comes to is there a conflict of interest when it comes to Floyd Mayweather training Devin Haney, who's in the same division as Gervonta Davis, who signed with Floyd Mayweather? Is there a collective conflict of interest? I hear a lot of people out here talking about Gervonta Davis being sensitive. Well, how is he being sensitive? It makes all the sense in the world when it comes down to them being in the same damn division. And if Gervonta was in fact planning on dropping through TMT to do his fight camp, it only makes sense for him to feel some type of way. Because, a fighter being that close to a mentor, so to speak, or one of the best in the game that you're signed to, then of course a fighter is going to be wondering if there's a breach of loyalty. You know what I'm saying? If there's a fragment of trust that's going on with potentially these two fighters, Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney, locking up in the near future. You know what I'm saying? They may potentially fight one another in the near future. You never freaking know. What's going on, D. Hodges? What's good? He said that's a stupid fight. Much rather Haney versus Tank at 135. Well, I didn't take, and what I was about to allude to, I really didn't take the call out of Floyd Mayweather any serious than anyone else did, because I seriously doubt Floyd Mayweather finds any type of money in fighting Gervonta Davis. He wouldn't even oblige that cat. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to it, Floyd Mayweather is on a whole different level than Javante Davis, and he's in the process of trying to elevate Davis up to that top, that higher tier, if he can do that potentially. But this is my take on it. I don't think Javante Davis should be that angry or upset that Floyd Mayweather, someone who he knows have trained Haney in the past. Haney just decided not to sign with Floyd Mayweather. So Javante may indeed feel like there might be a crossroads between him and Devin Haney in the future in the lightweight division. And you know what? If you that good, you go in there and fight what you know. Because from my understanding, Calvin Ford and Kenny Ellis, they're over there in Baltimore. Javante trains over there majority of the time, not at TMT. So if just so happened he was planning on, jumping on a bird and coming over here to TMT to do his fight camp, then there's plenty of places he can do a fight camp. And also it depends on who he's fighting. It truly depends on who he's fighting. Now, if I have any say so in trying to figure out the way Floyd Mayweather was thinking in this process, yeah, he's probably laughing. And I got to look at it on two sides. Is Tank serious? You know what I'm saying? Is he serious about feeling some type of way in his emotions about Floyd Mayweather training a fighter that has frequented his gym to begin with, who has an extensive history with Floyd Mayweather? Or is Floyd Mayweather, Devin Haney, and Javante Davis just trying to build up a future fight? So like a lot of fighters have been doing in this pandemic, they've been talking shit to one another. So could this be one of those smoke screens to kind of, get the energy within social media to a certain level to see how the fans lock on to it, to see if they would want to see a Javante Davis and Devin Haney? Hell yeah, we want to see that. We want to see that. But what we don't want to see is the professor, Floyd Mayweather, going in there against one of his students. You know what I'm saying? That's what we don't want to see. He said Tank's stupid. He too big for 130. He can't make weight. And from looking at his pictures outside in between fights, I will have to agree. I can't sit up here and have no other way except to concur with that Tank Davis is a bit undisciplined in between fights, and he does balloon up for his body type. I don't know if it's just naturally hydration and everything else. It doesn't look, but Tank is not the biggest dude or the tallest dude for when he's in between fights. That's maintaining that I guess a couple of pounds, well, let's say 5 or 10 pounds above his weight class. Errol Spence just talked about that not too long ago. He was talking about coming from 89 down to 147 when he fought Sean Porter, and it wasn't smart. And supposedly the accident helped him realize, where his focal point should be. Maybe Javante Davis, somehow, some way, he may come to that maturity where he needs to pay a bit more attention to his diet in between fights, especially if he's planning on moving down to 130 and facing Leo Santa Cruz. He's definitely had to come in on weight. And we've seen it before with Davis. Davis has went up there and missed weight on the scales, and he's dealt with it. I don't know if he's going to take this fight absolutely serious on the scales. He just missed weight by a pound when he was down here in the ATL facing Yuriorkis Gamboa. Not only that, he was extremely late to the weigh-ins. Came in, looked exhausted, depleted, a pound over, and then he pushed Gamboa, causing the damn riot at the weigh-ins. Do you think the one with Leo Santa Cruz is going to be any different? I don't want to prognosticate that it may be, but we have a trend going on here with Javante. And that trend is the fork. That trend is showing a lack of discipline to really cut down on weight. I'm not saying he's not showing, he's not disciplined when he's in the ring and he's getting the sparring in. But when it comes to dropping weight and meeting the limit, he's been known to fail in the past. Haney more distracted to the detected to the sport. I feel floored. Haney more detected to the sport. I feel floored. Davis is going the Bronner route. I'm shaking my head. I swear, if I was a boxer, I'd fight around my walking weight so I don't got to lose too much. Well, I can look at it like this, there, Hodges. Like with Gervonta being a 2 division champion, 3-time world champion. I remember Calvin Ford telling me back in the dressing room when I asked him, what is their compass? What is their boxing compass? In the near future, in the next couple of years in the sport, do you just want to collect a couple of titles of 135 and then move up to 140? And he kind of deterred away from that junior welterweight division. And he said, no, we're going to contend at lightweight, and we're going to contend at junior lightweight. It was no entertaining junior welterweight anytime soon. Now, the reason why I asked him that was the primary factor in what we're talking about right now, him having problems making weight. If he is to step in there and have big fights with some top names in the lightweight division, he has to make the weight. There's no need for him to come in there and trying to say, I want to unify the lightweight division, but you miss weight, so the title's not on the line. So when I look at him being mad at Floyd, it's a lot more things that the fans can be mad at Gervonta Davis for when it comes to boxing in general. And that is, you're a big name in the sport. You had a very solid fight. I'm not going to lie. I got it on the flip side, not to contradict myself, right? But I got to give Tank this credit. When I saw him in Baltimore, he was in tremendous shape for the Carlo Nunez fight. And then when I saw him down here in ATL, he looked in good shape, but he was a pound off. He ended up making the weight though. But I got to pay it, I got to play devil's advocate a little bit, because I truly think that him coming in a pound overweight may have been intentional to hype the fight up a little bit more, especially down here in Atlanta, to get the word out there that it was a semi freaking brawl, in Atlanta at the weigh-ins, which it was. It wasn't really no punches thrown, but both camps was going at each other. I mean, it was a madhouse. So I got to look at it like, you're trying to tell me, Gervonta coming down here to Atlanta for the first time to fight, that they're not going to bring drama? Man, you can sense it, man. When Gervonta walked in there with the towel on his head, he wasn't having it. He didn't want to talk to nobody. He was late already. This is where I picture it being premeditated or being pretentious. Because if Floyd Mayweather is building him up and he allowed the fight to happen, Mayweather promotions down in Atlanta, all that, right? Why did Mayweather leave before Tank Davis came on the stage? Floyd Mayweather was there chilling, talking to people on stage, standing there, and then all of a sudden, him and his people leaves. So they leave, boom, gone. All of a sudden, Gervonta comes in, and I would say it may have been 2-3 minutes. So they had to see each other leaving. So Floyd Mayweather leaves, Gervonta enters, go to the scales, miss weight by a pound, do a face-off, and he pushes Gamboa. You trying to tell me that's not the build the fight up? That's not the goddamn send some waves and getting people on social media, sending those videos out? Yeah, it worked. It worked, man. I just gotta, play both sides, which I don't like doing. But since I was on deck for two of his fights, and I'm looking at the way his weight, some of the pictures is floating around, and then him being mad at Floyd, I don't think it's reasonable for him to be mad at Floyd Mayweather training Devin Haney. Because from our understanding, his next fight is going to be Leo Santa Cruz. And that'll be a junior lightweight. Now, the conflict of interest cannot be just because you're signed to Floyd Mayweather Promotions, and Devin Haney is over there with Eddie Hearns. You know what I'm saying? We're in a pandemic, so travel restrictions, everything else. So why not Devin Haney come back over here and train where he's welcome? You know what I'm saying? Him and Floyd and Tank Davis don't have the best relationship. But goddamn it, Devin Haney, he step up in there, and that's old stomping grounds for him. Why not, man? Go over there and goddamn get your work. Go get your work. One thing I can say about Devin Haney, he always staying focused. He looks in impeccable shape. He always seems like he's punctual and keeping himself in the gym. Whereas we see Gervonta Davis, we don't know really what he's going through. When he hit social media, he hit it hard outside the ring. And what you just said, Hard, just talking about Davis is going the Broner route. I really hope not. You know what I'm saying? I know Broner was able to earn 4 divisions, get that shit out the way. No matter how he did it. Broner's 4 division champion, future Hall of Famer, period. People can say what they want, but Broner is indeed a future Hall of Famer. If Gervonta Davis is going to start, gaining all this weight in between fights and somewhat emulate Broner, that's his own undoing. But once again, we don't know what the fuck he's going to do. All we know right now, he's in his feelings just a little bit. And he's mad at Floyd, which isn't the first time. He's been on record several times talking about, all the concerns he got with his damn, being signed to Floyd. And from my understanding, when he made those fights in Gervonta's hometown, Baltimore, and then to his second home down here in the A, it just felt like Floyd was catering to Gervonta. Seriously, it just seems like the relationship was healthy a little bit. It was revitalizing itself, and they was coming to a turn to the point where they were seeing eye to eye a bit better than it's been in the past, though. You know what I'm saying? I can't get past 140. That's the weight I'll fight. We all know that Gervonta Davis walks around above 140. We know that absolutely for a fact. Gervonta Davis probably walks around welterweight at some point. He might be 147 plus. You know what I'm saying? Easy. But absolutely, I wouldn't foresee him fighting at any weight class right now above 135. But when it comes down to the opponent that he has, will Gervonta Davis buckle down and be able to juggle his street life to his ring life? Be able to separate them and excel where he's supposed to in the ring, and be able to just negate and dilute all the trouble he's been getting in outside the ring. It seems like him and Broner are in the same vehicle. You know what I'm saying? They're side by side at times. When one is getting in trouble, the other one is in trouble also. But what I can say about Gervonta Davis was, looking at his fights, he's very entertaining cat to watch. He's a savage in there, man. He's doing what the fuck he want to do. I'm not taking too much to heart if he's finding the conflict of interest with Floyd. We know how Floyd played the game. We know how the fuck Floyd played the game. Don't sit up here and act like you don't. Like, Floyd is an OG in boxing. We know how he played the game. Just like when he came out that time and said Gervonta's gonna fight Lomachenko. Everybody's like, damn, he's throwing Gervonta under the bus. I didn't think so, because I don't get attach to words on here in social media until it gets to a point where there's some paperwork flying around. And then if you verify 3 or 4 credible sources that indeed these two individuals are going to fight, then that's when I start talking about it. Just because it's on social media, I'm not going to say, well, we know for a fact Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney is going to fight. You know what I'm saying? But what we did know about Gervonta and Leo Santa Cruz is Leo was calling out Gervonta, and then Gervonta started to respond because there's a lot of people calling him out. Gary Russell was calling out Gervonta, but once again, I was like, I don't see Floyd putting Gervonta in there with Gary Russell Jr. It seems like an extremely tough fight because Gary Russell is a problem. The apex predator is a problem for Gervonta. So I didn't take too much heat on that, right? But when Leo Santa Cruz did, I said, hell yeah. You know, Leo Santa Cruz, he wouldn't fight Gary Russell Jr., but now he want to come up and fight Gervonta Davis. All right, I'll watch that fight. Even though I don't see Leo Santa Cruz going in there taking a lot of punishment. You know what I'm saying? Just going in there, delivering damage to Gervonta or outworking Gervonta like people believe he might. Leo Santa Cruz get hit. You know, and him flicking his right hand, you know, telegraph, you know, people has to understand. Yeah, it's a lot of things that Leo Santa Cruz does in the ring that he's been able to get away with, but it may not suffice once he's across the ring from Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis has pretty good defense too, man. Pretty good movement. His technical skills as a fighter is absolutely something you should respect. No matter how much trouble he gets in no matter how much trouble he get in his, on the street, when he's in the ring, you have to look at him as one of the best fighters in the sport when it comes to his skill set. Then again, like always, your fans are out there judging you for what they see you do in public. And then they kind of criticize you as a fighter, that you ain't shit and you're never going to be shit. But that ain't the case. You know, Gervonta is a 2-division champion already, 3-time world champion. And I do believe he's going to pick up some more belts, plural. Now, the only thing that's going to derail that, if Gervonta misses the scales and also he get in some trouble that's going to have him, you know, barred up for a minute. That's the only thing I can think about. And when it comes to Floyd, he can't say nothing about that because he was in that situation. This is the hurt business. Fighters get in trouble all the time. Think it's too big for them. They're 126. Yeah, you're talking about the Gary Russell. Gary Russell stepped on the scale and he looked in good shape, man. But Gary Russell stepped on the scale, and I believe at that point in time, his numbers were 142. I believe at that time his numbers was 142, if I'm not mistaken. So he was just saying that he's up with a weight that's still in shape. He's training, and it'll be no problem for a guy who fight at 126 to make 135. Okay, he made it perfectly clear that he didn't want to stop at 130. There's nobody that interests him. He would definitely want to step up to 135 and make some noise. We're gonna see what the fuck happened, man. You know, but right now, these young boxers that's been in this pandemic on lockdown, all of them been talking shit. Just think about it. The hottest division in boxing, and the second hottest division, you know, welterweight, right? Both of them had their moments while we was in the thick of this lockdown. Before the region started opening back up and everything, we had Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? We even had a little Sean Porter in there. You know, Danny Garcia, not so much. But of course, Keith Thurman was on the mic, you know, just a little bit. But most of all, this motherfucking 135-pound division, these dudes have been active. Twitter fingers, Twitter blinkers all day long. Ryan Garcia talking shit. You know what I'm saying? I can't really say Gervonta was on here all the time initiating it, but goddamn it, when he do get on here, then he on here for real. And then Devin Haney, he had his thing with his interview and so forth, and he said what he said about never losing to a white boy and all that. Had to apologize and shit. And once again, I say, I don't think the man was being racist, but it's just the point. They was on here talking shit. Teofimo Lopez. You have so many people. The only one that's been silent is Vasily Lomachenko, who's on another side. But the ones over here, Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, easy. Easy. Teofimo Lopez, easy. You know what I'm saying? Look, they have to fight. No matter who it is in the equation. When Gary Russell makes his freaking debut over here 135, which we don't know if that's going to happen, in 2020 or 2021. But goddamn it, if you think for 1 second that we wouldn't tune in to see Devin Haney fight Teofimo Lopez, that has more value right now than Gervonta Davis, in my opinion. The reason why I'm saying if Devin Haney fight Teofimo Lopez, because Teofimo right now, he has a fan base like no other. Like, his fans absolutely admire what he does outside the ring and his skill set and his performances inside the ring. So, of course, they was waiting on him to fight Vasily Lomachenko, but guess what? The flight restrictions and everything derailed that. So possibly right now we can be looking at Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. Definitely has more value than Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis. And that's no knock on the star quality of Gervonta Davis. But yes, Teofimo Lopez, man, in my opinion, even just being a one division champion, I think he has more fans that will come see him fight than Gervonta Davis. It's always like that. Who are Gervonta Davis fans though? The culture? Because when it comes to Teofimo Lopez, he's gonna have, he's gonna have the blacks, he's gonna have the Hispanics, he's gonna have the Hondurans, he's gonna have other collective ethnicities following him. Whereas in the US, we already know how the shit works. If you fucking up in the street, people tend to not want to support you, even if you are undefeated in the ring. Even if you are going in there knocking out motherfuckers. They want to act like it's about morals and principles, and it ain't. So I definitely agree, Hodges, on Gervonta Davis in the weight situation. But also I have to caveat to that is Gervonta Davis has made weight in two big fights. Those Baltimore and his Atlanta fight, he made weight. He just missed it initially in Atlanta. And like I said before, I think it was premeditated to draw the hype, to draw the suspense and the intrigue down here, to face off with Gamboa, push him, cause a semi-melee ruckus inside the weigh-ins just to get the energy flowing, get people on the home keys, press and send, talking about, Gervonta Davis shoves Yorkis Gamboa after missing weight in a pound. They was up there saying, how unprofessional. Typical Tank Davis. Can't get it right. And then the other people's like, yeah, this is going to be a fight to remember. They don't like each other. The camps go at it. It's an all-out melee. And I was there in the thick of it. It was intense. I can tell you this. That shit wasn't scripted. That wasn't WWE. It was some motherfuckers in there. Shit. It was a lot of pushing and shoving. What's his thing say? What Bun B said? No more pushing, it's time for shoving. That's what it was, man. That's what it was up in there. It was a lot of motherfuckers going at it up in there. And the only thing that was missing is some people that didn't have nothing to do with it. The people that was just there to see the weigh in, if they would have somehow made themselves down there to start throwing punches, then it would have got bad. But being that it was a small enough venue where security can provide a safe perimeter to prevent that, it just left it up to the teams. You know what I'm saying? The other collateral individuals that was on stage, of course, Gervonta Davis and Gamboa, they was ushered out quickly. It all went down, and then they was boof gone. I think Lucci, I think he was still backstage. Scotty ATL was still back there. So you had some hip hop artists that were still on deck too, and they were standing over there by the wall. But yeah, it could have got bad. Dun Dot in the building. What's good? Salute, man. I got T.O. He had problems with Gamboa with a bad leg. T.O. stoppage. I got T.O. He had problems with Gamboa with a bad leg. Teofimo Lopez, I haven't even really mentioned him facing Gervonta yet. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you're saying about Gervonta, who ended up getting him up out of the 12th round, kind of reminiscent of Terrence Crawford and Joseph Benavidez. Joseph Benavidez, even with partial mobility, you know what I'm saying, and having that bad leg where he got shot in, he was still a threat with his punching power that he forced Crawford to respect that shit. But with Gervonta, it wasn't like he wasn't trying to knock Gamboa out. It's just surprisingly Gamboa was taking the motherfucking shots. Like, it wasn't like Gervonta wasn't trying. He didn't put up the effort. Also, you have to factor in him going the distance, going into those championship rounds. It wasn't familiar territory to him. And plus, he was kind of fatigued. So we still have to check the box. He still wasn't able to get Gamboa. But this is what a lot of people may not know about that fight, though. Gamboa hurt his foot in the second round. And at first, the referee waived the fight. And the crowd was going berserk. And then the referee turned back around and they was talking in the corner and shit. And the fight continued. Because Gamboa was fucking around with his shoe. His shoe was fucked up. His ankle was fucked up. And the ref actually waved his hand like the fight was over. And ATL was about to goddamn go in. And then turned back around. They went over there, had some conversation. And then the fight continued. So during that fight, Gervonta was landing some heavy ass shots on Gamboa. I mean, he was still jabbing to the body. He was moving well. Gamboa was taking the shots and still trying to come forward and land his own punches. It was a very competitive performance between both fighters. And I was truly surprised at Gamboa's chin, like throughout the fight, right? But when Gervonta was successfully able to close distance and hit him with another consecutive uppercut, I don't know if Gamboa was fatigued. His foot was, hurting him a little bit. I really don't know which one contributed to him getting dropped, because when I saw the knockout, I saw Gamboa sitting there on the canvas looking up at the ref. He didn't seem disorientated or confused. You know what I'm saying? He didn't seem like, oh shit, he in a bad fucking place, like, say Zab, Judah, and Costa Zoo. You know what I'm saying? Ricky Hatton and Floyd Mayweather. Amir Khan. Victor Ortiz. He wasn't looking like that. He just got sat down, and the referee started to count, and the fight was stopped. But hell yeah, I got Tio. I got Tio, man. Right now, Teofimo Lopez is looking um he's looking very good for whatever name he's gonna step in there with. I kind of have Teofimo Lopez beating Vasily Lomachenko. The hard salute fam, under the salute. On what weight tank is now? Who knows? Done. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. He's talking about fight camp, but who knows what freaking Gervonta weighs right now? He may be in the high 40s right now, to be honest. I don't know. I've been trying to get an interview with Kevin Ford, so y'all be the first to know, man. I've been in contact with him. I'm trying to get an interview, and I'm definitely going to ask him not only about Gervonta, but of course Gervonta is going to be the primary topic, and then some other fighters that he has in his stable. But right now, you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's good for media to get up here and talk about every time one of these cats start to rumble and verbal spar on social media. You know what I'm saying? If it ain't Ryan Garcia talking about he'll beat everybody and all this other shit, to Devin Haney saying what he said, then Gervonta turning around and responding he was going to do his fight camp in Vegas. I guess not. And feeling some type of way about it. Hey, Gervonta been in the game for a quick minute. He absolutely understands that there's no way he's going to stop Floyd Mayweather from bringing in Devin Haney, who he has more of a healthier relationship with, period, into his goddamn gym. That's Floyd Mayweather's gym. Come on, man. Floyd liable to bring, I don't know, man. He liable to bring freaking Devin Haney up in there while Gervonta is having camp or just finishing up his gym session and about to go home, and Devin Haney just coming, dropping his bag, getting ready, wrapping up and everything to get ready to train. You know, it might be that shit. Look, if the pandemic doesn't allow a lot of regions to open up, well, of course it's gonna bottleneck fighters to train at certain gyms that is open. Of course, it's gonna happen. No doubt about it. That shit's gonna happen. It's only a matter of time. But if you look on USA Boxing, they have color coded the regions that are opening up now, that you know you'll be able to go train a little bit, and the states that are currently still under ban restrictions. And where this is being affected pretty hard is California. Real talk. You know, California coming up talking about they're going to extend the ban for another 3 months. That's going to affect boxing over in that area. That's where a lot of people train. And, you know, sunny California, West Coast and all that, you know, it's a lot of gyms over there that has fighters that are absolutely trying to, well, before this all hit, they was over there training. We know that. Kevin Ford, I need that World Combat Sports interview. Yeah, man. You know, I just need for him to he know who I am though. I actually talked to them when they was down here for Gervonta Davis fight. You know, they was right around the street from where I grew up. Like I live a mile down the street from the gym they was training at. And yeah, I'm just gonna let my contact work and see how that plays out. I'm waiting on some other things too, but you know what it is, y'all. Gervonta Davis and Devin Haney, we'll definitely tune in for that shit. We'll definitely tune in if that fight was to be made, but there's no way with integrity to reporting on those two that I'm gonna sit up here and tell you, you know, that shit gonna happen in 2020. Some of these fights need a gate to be made, point blank, period. They need a gate. These fighters can't sit up here with big names and fight one another in an arena with no fans. I mean, who's gonna come out the pocket? Bob Arum, he ain't talking about coming out the pocket for no damn body. You know what I'm saying? He has made it perfectly clear that it's not going to be him that's going to be the financing. Some of these fights just aren't going to be made, like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. It's not going to be made without an audience, without a gate. Now, for what I'm hearing, Terrence Crawford returning in September, potentially face Danny Garcia. We'll watch that. I just don't know about people talking about that Errol Spence is gonna freaking dog walk or wash Danny Garcia. I'm gonna tell you right now, that shit ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sean Porter didn't dog walk Danny Garcia. Errol Spence ain't gonna dog walk Danny Garcia. It ain't gonna happen. Errol Spence went 12 rounds with Mikey Garcia, who was just visiting 147, knowing he had already fought at junior welterweight, and it was his first fight at 147. He finished. He answered the bell, and he finished the fight on his feet. So you think Danny Garcia is going to get dog walked by Errol Spence coming off a car accident, and we truly don't know the condition internally, and what damage the car accident inflicted on Errol Spence? We don't know that shit. It might be a time in the fight where Danny Garcia land a good shot on Errol Spence's chin, and he may not take it well. We don't fucking know, yo. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. That accident was as close as you can get to resting permanently than you can see. No seatbelt on, a sports car, high speeds, ejection, landing on the pavement. It could have been all bad. Seriously, it could have been a broken arm. It could have been somewhat like we know Paul Williams. It's somewhat the same thing, except Paul Williams was on a motorcycle down here in the A. He had an accident and he bruised his vertebrae, his spinal. So he still have been wheelchair bound. And we could have just as well seen Errol Spence in the same situation. Now it comes down to, how's Errol Spence, if indeed he's going to face Danny Garcia, how's he going to fucking look? Are we going to see a fluent? Are we going to see the Errol Spence we used to? You know what I'm saying? Being in control, never really having to fight. Errol Spence didn't fight through tremendous adversity at all with Sean Porter, but absolutely he was in a dogfight, and he showed how much his edge had in the 11th round when he caught Sean Porter with the left hook. He showed he was a step higher than Sean Porter when it comes to his mental IQ, his ring IQ, his mental set as a fighter, in there with one of the best in the game that was basically bringing the fight to Errol Spence the entire time. And for Errol Spence to continue to have that attentiveness to see through all the brawling tactics and the forward pressure of Sean Porter to catch him with that hook and basically give him the edge to win the fight. But the style is going to be different when he steps in there with freaking Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia's style is not a Sean Porter. We know that because Sean Porter defeated Danny Garcia. He was waiting too long while Kenny Porter came in there with a fine fight plan. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely superb. They gave him a little boxing, and then they gave him a little brawling. They picked and choose selectively when they wanted to turn up the temperature, and it worked out very well. Now, when it comes to Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, we've seen Errol Spence box. We've seen him box off the back foot a little bit. We've seen him in tough fights where he was Just say, for instance, Kell Brook, when he was in Kell Brook's backyard, we seen him fight through the storm, y'all. Is Danny Garcia going to put him in a storm? Is Danny Garcia going to put him in the middle of a tornado like Sean Porter? I don't think so. Unless, like I said, if Errol Spence takes some shots and he's feeling funny and we see it, that's the only way I can see Danny Garcia putting him in the spin cycle. Period. That is the only way that I see that shit popping the way that, because Sean Porter has already beaten Danny Garcia, who Errol Spence defeated Sean Porter. Sean Porter has already defeated Danny Garcia. Now, to the hardcore boxing fans, y'all know that styles make fights. We know that shit. So when it comes down to Sean Porter defeating Danny Garcia, but yet and still, Danny Garcia's style may match up differently to Errol Spence, to the point where we might see Danny Garcia having some green lights in during the match. He might have some success, man. But I know you ain't gonna hear World Combat Sports tell you that I believe Danny Garcia has a chance. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. What y'all think? How y'all think Danny Garcia's situation is going to be? You tell me. I thought Spence was going to smash Porter after his Ugas fight. Surprised me. Lost money that night. Well, guess what? You ain't the only one. When it comes to that particular mindset, in the narrative that you just put, I will have to link up with you on that, because Sean Porter looked bad. Sean Porter looked disinterested. He looked like maybe he didn't have a good training camp, or it's a whole lot of variables that could have matched up to why he looked the way he did against. Look, Ugas was fighting tall. I was like, he looked impressive. I was like, damn, he's really a bad matchup for Sean Porter. Ugas looked good in that fight, in my opinion. A lot of people thought Ugas may have won, and a lot of people didn't think he won. But taking the performance of Sean Porter heading into the Danny Garcia fight, after that particular performance, I was like, are we going to get the Julio Diaz type Sean Porter? I mean, what Sean Porter are we going to get? Are we going to get the Sean Porter who fought in a like all out brawl? Which one are we going to get? Because he looked terrible in there against Ugas. But when he showed up to fight Danny Garcia, man, I have to credit this man. I have to give him the salute, because I was like, damn, that's a pretty good game plan that they came up with for Danny Garcia, because they had the man waiting. And then when Danny Garcia finally landed that overhand right, and Sean Porter just looked at him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still here. And then he landed it again. He's like, shit. But by that time, Sean Porter was switching up the rhythm. Sometimes he was coming in, closing distance. Sometimes he was boxing at, at range. He was using his jab well. He was able to land some combinations on Danny Garcia, which was unexpected, in my opinion, for Danny Garcia to be eating those shots like that. But Sean Porter and Kenny Porter came up with a solid game plan, man. So I had to salute them for that shit. And shout out to Stay Ready Boxing. Absolutely appreciate that donation, man. Thanks for supporting the channel. Real talk. Always thanks for the support for those of you that's tuned in. D Hodges, Don Dada. Of course, salute to the wrenches. Porter would give EJ problems in September. Yeah, Porter And Stay Ready Boxing said, salute family, salute to you, man. Yeah, that's a big hypothetical. If that fight was to happen, it ain't, because Porter is too much of a problem for, EJ coming off a car accident. You know what I'm saying? It's just too much of a problem. He was a problem for him when he cut down from 189 to 147. But now, Errol Spence said he learned his lesson and he's more focused in boxing. We'll see. But if Errol Spence came in there and he's telling us that he made the fight harder by not being disciplined enough, not to balloon up in weight in between fights, and had to cut the amount of weight that he did to get the 147 for the Porter fight, that's amazing. You're fighting at the highest level in your division, and you still had to do somewhat of a haste weight cut and went 12 rounds at a high pace in there with one of the top ranked guys in the division, two-time champion, and you still was able to get the knockdown in the 11th round. Man, that's crazy. You trying to tell me? Well, you know what? I got to look at it this way too before I say that. I was about to say, now that he has more time due to the pandemic to actually train and cut weight, will we see a better Errol Spence split the ropes once boxing resumes? And I'm saying to myself again, we don't know if he's still going to be 100% because of the car accident. The last interview he had, he basically said he's been cleared to train, but he hasn't been cleared to spar because he's waiting for the implants. And, the implants has to heal to the bone. And so he can get his, so he can basically have his permanent teeth in place. Danny Garcia is cherry picked now. Yeah, man. Hey, but Don, you got to give it up for Danny Garcia for losing to Sean Porter. Right? He lost to Sean Porter, but yet he's about to go in there and face the fighter who defeated Sean Porter. You got to give it up for Danny Garcia, man. They show that man mad love. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Danny Garcia loses to Sean Porter, who lost to Errol Spence, but yet Danny Garcia gets to fight with Errol Spence. And I'm telling you, some people don't even get that type of love. You lose, your ass climbing down the ladder. That just goes to show you how much pull Danny Garcia has. Don say, stay ready, always salute, fam. Stay ready, say, what's up, Don Dada? If Porter didn't get up, I won. Okay. And for a minute, it looked like potentially that it was the 11th round, Porter getting dropped. I thought maybe EJ may have been able to go back in there and hurt him again. But, you got Sean Porter looking across the referee's shoulder, over the referee's shoulder, saying, let's go. When I saw Sean Porter do that after being knocked down, I was like, well, I don't know. This might be adrenaline talking. This might be him still a little buzzed. But no, he went right back to work. Right back to work, y'all. Porter got up and saying, let's go. Yeah, exactly. You're right, man. Porter got up from a flash knockdown. Even when he was even when his body was basically interacting, about to touch the canvas, he was like, damn. He couldn't hold his body up. Neurologically, he was impaired at that moment. And I always have an admiration, like, for fighters who are able to drop fighters in the latter rounds. That shit is freaking hard. And a tough ass fight like that between EJ and Porter, for him to catch Porter with enough power, man, you got to take your hat off to that shit. Because there's some fighters, once they get up to the championship rounds, man, they on the ropes. They just using, their footwork, they're staying mobile, they're active, get in, get out, especially if they understand they ahead on the cards. But we have to commend Errol Spence and Sean Porter for a damn good fight, y'all. That shit was a damn good fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. But like I said, the fight everybody want to see may be so far over the mountain that we may be looking at that shit in 2022. It's according to, how long it takes boxing to get fans back in the seats. We might be looking at that shit in 2022, y'all. You know what I'm saying? They may be looking at that fight with Terrence Crawford and EJ like they did with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Seriously, they may be talking shit about it. Oh, man, we wish we would have saw Errol Spence. But look, y'all, the boxing of these two individuals, they're going to go on regardless. Errol Spence is a two-time champion right now, single division champion. And then you have Terrence Crawford. He's a three-division champion. Now, of course, if you take Errol Spence campaigning in the welterweight division for his career outside of his third fight, which he was fighting a junior middleweight, and then he dropped down to 147. If you look at him and saying, okay, we're looking forward for Errol Spence to unify the welterweight division, is Terrence Crawford going to stay around in the division long enough to say, okay, I'll fight? Will Terrence Crawford somehow shock us and attempt to move up to 154 and fight a fighter up there? You know what I'm saying? Like Canelo Alvarez been doing, moving up to 168, 175, picking up belts, vacating them, just doing what the fuck he want to do. Will we see a fighter out of the welterweight division make a move like that? And I believe we will. I believe we will. The money fight is there, but the money isn't. Let me know what you think. The money fight is there, but the money isn't. And the way it's looking in some of these footprints, these nesting beds for boxing that could have put on this fight, how long is it going to take for them to cultivate and get the traction back? To be allowed to have a full house. And once they have a full house, what are the restrictions going to be like? How are they going to let all these fans come back to arena? You're not going to test thousands of fans. You're not going to do that shit. You're not going to have people standing in line getting nose swabs. There's no way that's possible to have tests come back immediately right there on the spot. So that's why I'm trying to tell you all how far we out from Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Because Bob Arum made it perfectly clear. We're not going to see that fight unless it's butts in the seats. So you can just look at that through a long telescope, and that's how far that fight is off. We may be looking at 2022. But in the meanwhile, Terrence Crawford, in my opinion, he has options. Right now, Errol Spence is the IBF and WBC champion. He's unified. So he's on the hunt, right? But the only way he's going to unify that division is he has to face Terrence Crawford. And he has to do it at a time where if we still don't have a packed house and full access, they're going to have to take a hit. I just don't see the promoters coming up with the amount of money they would have made on the gate, PPV, to have them go in there and fight. I don't think it's going to be feasible for the promotions and everybody else, y'all. So, yeah, we're going to have to sit tight on that shit. But I would definitely like to see Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford move up to 154 and face somebody. I would like to see that. Don't say salute, Pac-Man. Welcome. Pac-Man, I think that would be Close Scotty, I had to leave Facebook because I wasn't getting no love over there in the chat. um, this what I can tell you. A lot of the time, to be honest, my oh damn, I ain't see Tay Jones goddamn drop through here too. Shout out to Tay Jones, man. To be honest, fellas, I was actually looking at the YouTube chat, and I had my other Facebook chat. I had another tab open, so I wasn't able to see the people that was dropping in on the Facebook chat. But appreciate the freaking versatility, the deployment, the agility to be mobile. Combat units always work effective like that. So you transfer from Facebook over to YouTube, man. I appreciate it, dog. Real talk. Tay Jones even came in the building. He said Tank probably want to smash Floyd. I've been knew they had problems before he won his first belt. Danny Garcia versus Spence is almost 50-50 fight for 60-40 or 60-40. Yeah, we've been talking about that percentage, and I think I mentioned previously, and appreciate the comment there, Tay Jones. I've been I mentioned this previously about the 50-50 aspect of it, right? And I was saying it would be good if Terrence Crawford was to step in there and face Pacquiao, because I truly believe that Terrence Crawford will defeat Manny Pacquiao, especially if it's testing and everything by the books. Terrence Crawford goes in there, picks up that WBA super title. So now he's strapped with the WBO and the WBA. And then you have Errol Spence with the IBF and WBC fighting for the undisputed championship. It makes it a lot more easier to call it a 50-50 fight, because if both of them have two straps, then it's a no-brainer. But if Errol Spence goes in here, defeats Danny Garcia, then get the fight with Manny Pacquiao, who by that time would have been out inactive, several months. He comes back in, face Errol Spence. And I would be hard-pressed to think that Errol Spence would do a Keith Thurman and allow Manny Pacquiao to take the fight without thorough drug testing. So therefore, if Errol Spence is able to fight Manny Pacquiao, he defeats Manny Pacquiao, period. He picks up the WBA. He has 3 straps, so Terrence Crawford won. And that fight would be a 60-40 fight in that particular fashion. If indeed Errol Spence holds 3 badges and then to Terrence Crawford 1. But Terrence Crawford somehow, some way is able to step in there and face Manny Pacquiao before Errol Spence, which would be a solid fight. Errol Spence defeats Manny Pacquiao. I put money up against anybody if they're saying that Manny Pacquiao is going to go in there and defeat Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford defeats Manny Pacquiao, and he will have 2 belts. 2 plus 2 is always great. Everybody fights for the entire bragging rights for the undisputed crown of the welterweight division. That's what we want to see. And then whoever gets it, whoever that may be, vacate the damn belts and move up to 154. Let's go. Let's go. Go over there. We have people moving up in weight, being placed in the top 3 ranking positions in weight classes that they haven't even fought in yet. So who's to say these individuals in the welterweight divisions on the backside of their career cannot do the same thing? If you're able to unify the division and you want to further submit your legacy, move up to 154 and face a popular name up there. Once again, stay ready. Thanks for the donation, man. Salute to you. Appreciate the support. Everybody that's in here. Hard just said, I respect anyone that has the same energy when this corona over, but I bet the energy changed. Hell to the yeah. That energy gonna change because come on, man. We all know what it is. When you have too much time on your hand, come on, man. Isolation, it influences people differently. Either you become partially a higher IQ genius than you were previously in boxing when you have a little bit more time to study the sport and look at old fights and be a little bit bored, but yet you're still learning some things. And then you have the other side where, you know, some fighters just up here like, shit, you know what? It's about time to fuck with a motherfucker, dog. Let me see what this nigga gonna do. You got fighters that's goddamn thinking of shit. Teofimo said it. He said, I'm bored. So him being bored influenced him to kind of get on social media and start saying some shit. Once they start getting back in training camp and they're more occupied, a little bit tired, once they get a fight on the schedule, yeah, I think the energy is gonna change, man. I think the energy is gonna more so go back the way it was. You didn't really hear these lightweights talking shit back and forth. You didn't really hear that shit going on when the calendar was full. But once they was forced into isolation, the gyms closed, and some of these cats had to damn go to garages and train and try to make the best while trying to maintain a freaking diet. Hell yeah, they was coming up with some shit to talk about. You motherfucking right. And I think some of these fighters were having a drink too. You know what I'm saying? I saw Rolly. Man, Rolly even said himself that he was eating Korean freaking food and he just been eating dirty. You know, putting on some serious weight. Can EJ get on ESPN PPV without Bud? No 50-50. That's a solid question. People have to understand that EJ isn't at that point right now, especially after the car accident. EJ isn't at that point. For anybody to believe that he can sit up here and fight a lower tier name than Terrence Crawford and do good numbers, I don't think so. The reason why, you know, Mikey Garcia was able to come in there and provide that extended audience because, of course, come on, the Garcia's reputation, the Mexican fan base in boxing, all that shit. That's why them two meshed together nicely. That's why freaking Tyson, Anthony Joshua, and Vladimir Klitschko was able to mesh together in Wembley Stadium. Opponents make fights, especially when it comes down to the fan base. Manny Pacquiao has the Filipino nation. The Mexican have Mexico and every bit of that in between the fan base. You know, you have the UK, you have Russia, you have some of these fighters with countries behind them, just like Floyd Mayweather mentioned, Japan. He went in there and fought Tenshin Nashikawa. And what Floyd make? If I'm not mistaken, he made what? 10 mil in how many minutes? Who does that shit? Who go over there and fight a smaller fighter that's in another sport, almost similar to Conor McGregor? He goes over to a foreign country and makes a minimum of 10 million, and he puts on a clinic in Tenshin Nashikawa. And by the way, I'm not gonna drop no names, but you know, on a certain media outlet, they said Tekashi 6ix9ine. I ain't gonna drop no names, but I was like, huh? You know what? Tekashi 6ix9ine. That's Tenshin Nashikawa. Hi, Wakata. Was it? I mean, come on. Pac-Man said, Don, salute. And once again, thanks for dropping through, man, off the Facebook chat over here, man. It's my fault. Um, Arrow, yeah, but Bud too small naturally. Arrow walk around 160 plus. Absolutely. Oh, okay. I ain't know that was you, Tay. My fault. Man, y'all be having all these alias names, man. I didn't even know, man. Pac-Man ATL, I saw that shit and I was like, nah. Cause look, over here on the Facebook, man, it has your name and it has the Pac-Man ATL too. That's what's confusing. That's what I'm saying. It has your name and then further down in the chats, it has Pac-Man ATL. Okay, what's up, man? Appreciate that, man. Salute. Real talk. Thanks for stopping through off that Facebook check on YouTube though. Rolly was at 172 3 weeks ago. God damn. 172. Jesus Christ, man. Man, he's gonna have to take several months to get that weight back down. But from what I understand, man, he's back in the gym. You know what I'm saying? Rolly's back in the gym. That's what I heard. That's what I seen. But 172, unfreaking believable. Can you imagine Rolly competing? Let's say Rolly competing at 154, 160. It wouldn't work because he's out of shape. And he's small for that division. But having those type of numbers, man, just because you out there eating and not training, man, that's amazing. Don say Ortiz won't bud until boxing open back up. Man, all them fighters, you know what? You should be calling out the champs. Absolutely. I don't have no disagreements with these fighters calling out the champs. Why not? Call their ass out. If they ain't fighting one another, call them out. Call them out. They should be calling out Manny Pacquiao ass before he goddamn go into hospice care. That's who they should be calling out too. Bob and Al made Fury versus Wilder. Why not Bud Spence? Look, I don't think the co-promotion has a problem with making that fight, Hodges. I don't think the co-promotion has because they was very successful with Wilder Fury. But what I do understand from Bob Arum being on the interview is that he said he's not coming out the pocket. How does that fight make money? How does it generate money with no gate? He's not coming out his pocket. He made that perfectly clear. We need butts in the seats. We need to have accountability of higher numbers of fans that's able to attend these fights. And then also they can put that shit on PPV, of course, and then make it that way. But Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence can no way, shape, or form do what the UFC just did. Even though the UFC saying, okay, supposedly they did, 700,000 buys, right? I don't think that'll benefit the same in boxing if they was to just have a blackout fight and Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is the main event and we're basically generating everything to PPV. I don't know if boxing would do the same numbers because the UFC was basically standing solo with 3 fights. Boxing comes back on deck. You're going to provide the audience with an option. You're going to have more fights on at the same time of mixed martial arts. So there's going to be an alternative there. The UFC was out there solo dolo. So it wasn't no alternatives. They just say, yeah, let me go purchase this fight. Hey, man, you want to come over here? Okay. Call up the shawties. Tell them to come over here. We're going to have a fight party. We're going to look at these fight cards, man. That's the only thing on. Boxing ain't up yet. Yeah, they was able to get that attention. How do you say Bob and Al made Fury versus Wilder? Don say fans have talked about EJ and Bud enough for a trilogy already. Motherfucking right, man. You're right. Pac-Man said Montana Love called him out and he never did respond. Montana Love has been off the grid for a while, man. I know he just recently had a fight. He won, but he's been off the grid for a minute. I know him and his trainer that he was in the video with dancing, they pretty much have a division. You know what I'm saying? They're not on that type of terms no more. You know how it is in boxing, the ebbs and flows. But yeah, man, Montana Love, he had me been in the game for a while like that. Damn, it's been a minute since I heard that man name in boxing. What's next for him though? You know that, Tay? What's next for Montana Love? I don't know if you have any communication with him. What's next with that? Hodges, he too small. WWE did good. Last I watched, it's with no crowd, over 2 million views. Yeah, that's a staple in the entertainment business, and you're absolutely right. The WWE don't need judges, commission, and all those mandatory placements that mixed martial arts and boxing has. Like I said before, if you start off with mixed martial arts and boxing, you're going to start off with 3 men inside of the cage or the square spear, right? You have the 2 fighters and you have the referee. And then you add on a total of 6, 3 per corner. That brings you to 9 already. With WWE, they can just narrow that shit down to singles matches, bring the referee in there, have 2 commentators, and have the cameraman, and they're good. Because the fight is scripted, and we already know they totally understand who's going to win the match, period. But good point, though, man. Good point. 2 million, that's solid, man. It was one of the, in my opinion, the weakest WrestleManias. But what they did was bleed in cinema type scripts of matches being played out as if you was watching a movie. Genius by the staff and the editors and the creators over there at WWE, Vince McMahon and all them. Genius at what they did, because they put on WrestleMania with no crowd, but yet they kind of gave you that cinema type movie to world wrestling entertainment. Like some of the matches that they had, it was almost like looking at a movie. He called out Rolly. Okay. That'd be a pretty good matchup, really. Because Rolly's still trying to prove himself. You know, Rolly is still trying to prove himself. And it's bad that if he is up in weight at 172, right? He ain't gonna be nowhere. He's not gonna come nowhere close to even facing Ryan Garcia anytime soon. Like I remember seeing Rolly approach Ryan Garcia, at a fight one time, and they was going back and forth, verbal sparring and shit. And I said, "Damn, okay, will this fight ever happen?" Because from what it was said, that Rolly was fucking him up in sparring. And it's some vids out there where Rolly was having the best. He was getting the best of Ryan Garcia, but I think that Ryan Garcia may have improved since then. Obviously, he's getting these knockouts. You know what I'm saying? He's getting these counter knockouts. In my opinion, Ryan Garcia fights a little tall for me. It's only a matter of time if he faces a boxer that's able to get on the inside and work the body and make it dirty. His chin just a little bit too high. And the way he tried to sit there and use his speed to counter his opposition, that ain't gonna work for everybody. That shit ain't gonna work for everybody. What Ryan Garcia doing in the videos. I truly thought Rolly and Ryan Garcia may step in the goddamn ring. Rolly don't seem like he's afraid of stepping in there with Ryan Garcia, even after seeing his last 3 fights. I don't think Rolly has any freaking optimism that he can't go in there and try to defeat Ryan Garcia. But I'm gonna tell you what, if Rolly does step in there and Ryan Garcia finishes him in 3-4 rounds, I don't think he's gonna be able to walk around TMT gym frequently like he used to. I don't know. because a lot of people are saying like they didn't think Ryan Garcia would be dropping his opponents like that. And then again, I'm looking at it like, look at the opponents that he faced. Look at how he's fighting. Ryan Garcia he ain't been in the knees enough for me. And it's not like it's a lot of things he isn't doing. And a lot of what we're not able to see because his opponents are not forcing him to do it. We're not seeing Ryan Garcia fight off the back foot. We're not seeing Ryan Garcia actually fight as a volume puncher and box a boxer. We're seeing him have success with countering, speed, having people believe that he has this ultimate power right now. And I just don't see it. I don't see that shit. Prove it to me. I mean, you ain't got shit to prove to me. I'm just saying, I want him to prove that. Okay, you want to step in there with freaking Devin Haney and Gervonta Davis? Let's go. If you think you're the best in the lightweight division, in which Ryan Garcia should feel that way, he needs to get on the move. Go in there, at 20, I think he's 20-0 right now. With a record like that, shit, go ahead. Face a top name. Let's see it. You go in there and knock out a top name, then the fans are going to be like, okay, cool. We believe in Ryan Garcia now. We believe outside of the videos and shit that he actually have talent. Wilder Fury 2 broke some live gate records. Yeah, that fight was huge, man. That's one of the biggest fights in boxing, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the biggest fights in boxing. It did amazing numbers, man. And the trilogy is going to do just as well. The tide is going to roll in on that too. And we don't really know when the sun is going to set for that fight to take place either. I'm hearing a lot of rumors that it's indeed may be, in a foreign country, man. Unfortunately. It's amazing how economically it's forcing the U.S. fans, majority, the masses, to be deprived of seeing some good fights in person because the money is now being really basically dispensed on foreign soil. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of fucked up. Like the money is being dispensed, over there in the Saudi and everywhere else. Foreigners, the foreign footprints are basically possibly going to be the calendar for these next fights because of the money. And as boxing fans, we have it two ways. You can say, well, I'll look at it on PPV, I'll look at it on TV, whatever the case. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? I still get to see it on TV. And then you have the other ones that'll look at it like, well, do what you got to do. Go where the money at. Get the bag. That seems to be the narrative right now. Go get the bag. If you got to go across seas and goddamn get the bag, go get the bag. Who cares? It's a different experience. I mean, it's not like the first time fighters have went overseas or went into somebody's backyard to fight. If you go into a footprint that's generating this money enough to feed the fighters, an equitable purse, then so be it. Fuck it. Get the bag. No doubt. Those of you that's in the building, man, hit that thumbs up button for me. You know what I'm saying? Hit that thumbs up button. Share the content. It's much appreciated all day. Hard to say he too big. At 175 Rolly. Be a welterweight. Well, I can almost suggest this, man, without really being comedic about it. I truly, in every aspect of reporting, I know that Rolly isn't going to stay at around that weight. I'm not saying 175, but I'm just saying, I know Rolly is going to get back within his community for which he contend in. I don't know how long it's going to take him to do that shit, but he's going to have to make it a situation. It's no stop off points. In the process of cutting weight, you need to damn make a paycheck. So you say, oh shit, what I'm sitting at right now? I'm sitting about 157. So let me take a fight at 150. That shit ain't gonna fucking happen. That shit ain't gonna happen. But we truly will want to see from all the all the backstory that's between him and Ryan Garcia. Definitely we want to see Rolly step in there with Ryan Garcia, especially after seeing him stop his opponents. These two have a history together. So hell yeah. Rolly, get your ass back in the gym, man. Cut weight. Get off the Korean food with them high sodium motherfucking meals. And it's easy for me to say because if fighters don't have motherfucking nutritionists, then their cut is going to be a little bit difficult than usual. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these fighters, they pay for nutritionists, they pay for fight camp, and that shit just went into the wash, man. That shit went into the wash. So what do you think they're looking at next time around when they get this paycheck? They either got to pay for that shit that went into the wash, or their team say, you know what, fuck it, just pay us for this training camp that's coming up. At least we know the fight's going to happen. Now we just need to make sure you balance the scales correctly. Him fighting at welterweight right now, nah. Rolly, who would be his opponent? I can't even say I want to see Rolly in there with Jerome Ennis. And we all know Jerome Ennis, Boots. Everybody want to talk about Boots because it sounds good. But Boots even has to make his way through the minefield. Seriously, he has to make his way through that. It's a lot of people that's in the welterweight division in the top 10 that's pretty decent. But when you start getting up to the higher tier, man, you got to include names like Sergey Lipinets. You got to include the Yordenis Ugas. You know, you got Ortiz up there. Both of them. Man, you have some people sitting in limbo right now that's going to be across the ring from some familiar names that we used to. And we're going to see who separate themselves from the pack to potentially step in there with some of the champions that we see. But y'all, another thing we need to understand also is that it's only a matter of time before the changing of the guard happens with the welterweight division. We got some old heads in the welterweight division. And I know I heard somebody say, well, 32, 33 years old, that's not old. In boxing years, yes, it is. With amateur experience, yes, it is. So in the next upcoming years, we're going to see a change in the guard in the welterweight division. And we're going to see the next group of individuals that's going to take the place of these current champions, whenever that is. And when I say that, I'm not saying next month. I'm saying look at the ages of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. And can you honestly say that Errol Spence will be in the welterweight division in the next 5 or 6 years? Will it be enough competition there for these guys to make money? That's my question. Will it be enough for these guys to make money? Just say there's an undisputed champion. What is the next move for the undisputed champion? Will he then defend his undisputed belts 2 or 3 times? Because we just not seeing champions defend their belts like that. I'm speaking of fighters who are moving up and moving a different weight class. We're not talking about the Deontay Wilders who's in a single weight class and he was able to go for his 11th defense. We're not talking about the Chris Eubanks seniors who was defending title 15 times. In this particular era, We're looking at fighters that's winning titles and vacating. Gervonta Davis did it. You know, he didn't stay when he picked up that WBA title for a second time. He didn't stay down there. He moved up to 135, picked up a WBA regular title. So we don't know how long he's going to be in the division. We don't know how long Devin Haney is going to try to defend his belt. If indeed, you know, he's a WBC champion and then he ain't. You know what I'm saying? Like, they say he has the belt, then he don't. We don't know how long Teofimo's going to be down there because his dad has made it perfectly clear that 140 is definitely on the horizon for them. But from what I've been hearing, he definitely wants to fight for the titles at lightweight division. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Teofimo wouldn't mind trying to unify the damn lightweight division and become undisputed champion in his first division as a world champion. Y'all said he's 175 and he's junior lightweight. Listen, Rolly's weight right now, you definitely you have to look at this, right? You have to look at the aspect of sodium, high sodium. If he was there gorging himself off the Korean barbecue and all that type of food, I don't know who was cooking it. I don't know what his bank account is not like. I don't know if he had people cooking that shit in olive oil or he was just going up to the local motherfucking shop and picking up a meal or two. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at the weight, a lot of that shit is water. So give or take, right? When he actually start cutting weight, you start shedding the water weight, sodium, all that shit, start eating clean, and you start knocking the weight. So I can say that's like 7, give or take. That'll put him down like 168. You know what I'm saying? That puts him in super middle. Give or take. Because we know he'll get his ass toe up at damn light heavy. So he lose a couple of pounds, give or take, put him down 168 with the water weight and shit. And now he started having to eat clean, work hard, push pavement, go on some long runs, you know what I'm saying? Jump rope. But 135? Jesus, from 175? $40 motherfucking pounds? I mean, he might have to hire motherfuckers that was on the Big Loser, training them motherfuckers, dog. Shit, Floyd Mayweather probably look at Rolly and see him walk in the gym and walk right past Floyd Mayweather. And Floyd like, excuse me, who you here to see? And Rolly be like, come on, money, stop playing, man. Now for real, who you here to see? Who you again? I'm Rolly, man. For real? Man, Rolly probably coming out with a baseball cap, man, and might be unrecognizable. 135 boxer sitting around 175 is crazy. He needs Slim Fast. The only thing about Slim Fast, man, that I know for a fact is that it is one of the long-lasting ingredients for weight loss. But what people don't tell you is when you use it as a meal substitute and how quickly your body becomes hungry, how the insulin levels in your body starts to change. You start craving sugars and stuff like that. So Slim Fast, man, yeah, it's good. It sounds fast. You drink it, you say, oh, good, I had a good meal. But then you turn back around and say, shit, I'm hungry as hell. Let's see, fuck. Let me call some Uber Eats in this motherfucker. What Popeye's at? And it ain't gonna be too bad, man. Instead of me ordering a 6-piece like I use, I'm just gonna get a 3-piece. Yeah, I'm just gonna get a 3-piece, get some dirty rice and some green beans. I'm good. And shit, I gotta get me the biscuits. I'm just gonna leave the sweet tea alone. Fuck the sweet tea today. I'm just gonna goddamn get me a diet Dr. Pepper. Yeah, man, motherfuckers don't know. Slim Fast will influence your balance. It'll have you craving sugar. It'll have you craving shit that you wouldn't usually eat. And then when you go in there and order shit, you like you just used up a Slim Fast for nothing. You just fucked up. It's just like drinking a goddamn glass of water. You drunk a Slim Fast, and mentally, you know you did what was right. But then when it turns back around, I would say no less than look. I would say no more than 30 minutes. You start to get hungry again, especially if you're working out. But hey, at least you know that alternative is out there for Rolly. All those weight loss meal replacements that they have out there now. Yeah, for sure. What else that was out there in boxing news? Y'all hold on for a second. I'll take this. Yeah, back in the building. No, check this out. You say it was a joke. I understand it's a joke because the name itself is a cliche to losing weight, right? But as somebody who's been in the fitness community, you know, for quite some time, I'm talking about like NASM. They teach you a lot about all those freaking weight loss supplements is out there and everything, right? So the reason why I mention it is because I was just speaking on it when people who actually take and consume Slim Fast and they feel like, okay, we read the back of it. It tell you how much protein you're getting and everything else. Now for Rolly, in no way, shape, or form, he would take Slim Fast. I totally get it. And I don't think I referred that to Rolly taking Slim Fast. I just made a point to say anybody who's looking to take Slim Fast, they have to understand when they become hungry in a matter of 30 minutes, it's going to come on hard. It's going to come on very invasive. And you're going to be like, shit, I'm hungry. I want a burger. I want something with some sugars in it. I want a Snicker bar, Dairy Queen, go to Smoothie King and get me something. That's how it is. You have to take Slim Fast and you have to really be focused and dial in, man, because that's the most deceptive name that's out there that's made billions of dollars. And a lot of people who take Slim Fast, they're not able to maintain the diet because you have to cook up certain foods to be able to eat once the urge start to come on. Once the urge come on, and just say you got some baked chicken, rice, and you measure your quantity to eat. Even when you measure your food and you're disciplined, once you start to lose the weight, of course you're working out most of the time. your metabolism is going to change because of the quantity of food you're eating, the measured carbs, the veggies. All that shit is going to change the way your body reacts to your meals. But when you working out and your metabolism starts to change and you start eating clean, it fucks with you. It fucks with your sugar levels and it have you dreaming. Seriously, it has you dreaming about eating foods that you wouldn't eat on a regular basis, that you know that'll put on 3,000 calories. Easy. Cutting weight, it really is a chore, you know what I'm saying? And even for a fighter. You just say, for instance, we used to seeing Rolly when boxing was active. We used to seeing Teofimo. At one point in time, Teofimo had picked up some weight too. You know, we seen Gervonta out there, you know, ballooning up in weight. We even see Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? We seen some of these fighters, but I've never seen Terrence Crawford like that. I've never seen Terrence Crawford balloon up in weight. I haven't seen Devin Haney. Even during this pandemic, I haven't seen Devin Haney balloon up. I don't see the Gary Russell Jr.'s, Shakur Stevensons ballooning up in weight. The Leo Santa Cruzes. I haven't seen it, man. I'm being all honest. I don't see a lot of these guys, specifically in their own group. I don't see them picking up weight in between fights like that. To the point where you're saying, God damn, so-and-so look heavy as shit right now. So yeah, man. Good luck, Rolly. Somebody get that man a plastic fork instead of a one that he can goddamn really dig down and get a good quantity of food. Get him a goddamn small as Dairy Queen spoon and put him on a liquid diet or something. Give him some yogurt. Because 175 down to 135, man, he ain't stepping in the ring with Ryan Garcia anytime soon. He ain't stepping in the ring with lightweights, period. Anyway, enough of that shit. But, you know, I'm pretty sure Gervonta is not going to have no problem finding a fight camp, period. Most of his fight camps are in Baltimore anyway, man. Okay, lastly, I got to talk about my man Mike again. He put out another video. He said he's channeling whatever the I don't know. I forgot what he said or whatever, but I did watch the video a couple of times, and for him to be 53 years old, okay, he's in damn good shape. I have to give Mike his props on that. Mike Tyson, for him having a podcast, hot boxing and supposedly smoking. When he finally showed the video with him with no shirt on, I said, okay, Mike Tyson looks good for exhibition. He looks in great shape for 53. So did Sugar Ray Leonard when they started showing videos of him coming back, and he still got stopped. You know, I mean, Mike Tyson looks in great shape. I'm pretty sure Evander Holyfield looks in great shape. Every time I seen Lennox Lewis on deck, Lennox Lewis always looked like he's in phenomenal shape, you know, as far as maintaining a certain weight standard, right? None of these cats are walking around looking like the old Tyson Fury. That's what I'm trying to say. So therefore, what's next? Because I mentioned this before. What's next? What's next for Mike Tyson? Are we going to see Mike Tyson and Shannon Briggs? I think that'd be good for entertainment. You know, I said it. You know, Shannon Briggs is a showman. Let's go champ. He can hype the crowd up. He can talk some shit. Mike gonna talk some shit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, give me a beer or two. I'm like, okay, yeah. You know, I mean, he got to fight the right person. Like I said before, they should take a template from the WWE. These cats, the one thing I should say, somebody should pay a little bit extra money and have Deontay Wilder split the ropes unexpectedly and face off against Mike Tyson. because the two have gone back and forth a little bit. And I know Deontay had made the declaration that what he would do to Mike Tyson back in the day and all that. And then Mike Tyson had his words. It would be great to see them two face off and make it look worse than what it is, to give the fan that extra needed energy, give boxing that extra needed energy coming off this pandemic. And then whoever's supposed to face Mike Tyson comes into the ring and they do their exhibition bout. The same thing with Holyfield. The only person I think that can generate any type of, publicity with Holyfield doing like an exhibition bout, I think it would have to be like James Toney. It would have to be somebody that the crowd respects. I wouldn't say George Foreman. I wouldn't say Big George. But it have to be a heavyweight that the crowd respects and they're going to actually put effort into supporting it. We don't know who that is because Evander Holyfield really wasn't a big time trash talker like that. So it'd be hard to match him up with somebody that can bring the intensity out of the crowd and have people talking about it. But for Mike Tyson, that ain't that difficult. Yeah, I'm curious to see if that happens. Tyson Buster 2. Has anybody seen Buster Douglas? I mean, with the new era of fight fans, they have to have somebody to gravitate to. Like, at least we can say Shannon Briggs has been in the media. He's been in the media periodically, especially when KSI was fighting Logan and KSI was fighting Jake Paul. Shannon Briggs was in the proximity. He was hyping it up. He was on the side of Jake Paul, and I guess he was doing some training. So therefore, has anybody even seen Buster Douglas? Because he just can't come out the blue. And these new heads, you know what I'm saying? These new heads, these boxing heads out here, like, they claim they've been, studying boxing for years and decades. They be like, who that guy right there, though? Because when you get older, man, and you pick up weight, you look different. Who that guy right there? Well, that's the guy who knocked Tyson out. Who? Who is it? That's Evander? No, that's Buster Douglas. People gonna be looking around, getting on their phones, goddamn, putting in a search engine, trying to find out who Buster Douglas is because he's not gonna look the same. I haven't seen the man in a minute. He might still look fairly recognizable and then pick up weight. You know what I'm saying? No, it won't. Wilder first body. Damn. He said Wilder first body. Damn, you imagine how that's gonna play on the headlines though? Shit. But Foreman did it, but he was only 45. They're past 50. Yeah, understood. And I wouldn't see Mike Tyson going in here fighting an active heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? What I did like from what Evander Holyfield said was he has no plans at his age of facing an active heavyweight. So I said, thank you, God. Because I got mad respect for Real Deal. Especially fighting out of ATL as long as he did. And man, love him down here, bro. But I'm glad he said he's not trying to come back and fight an active heavyweight. So that leads us to this right here. What is Mike Tyson thinking? He's younger than Holyfield. He's 53 right now. He's putting out videos. He looked conditioned. He's moving all around sporadically like the old Mike Tyson. Who's going to be across from him in the ring, though? Who? That's all I'm saying. Who is it going to be? We can't have Mike Tyson going in there and being Deontay Wilder's first body, man. Listen, let me tell you something. You thought the fans hated Wilder when he said that shit on the radio show? If Deontay Wilder went in there and landed a shot on Mike Tyson, man, and he didn't get up, and he was in the hospital, even everything that we know Mike Tyson to been a part of that was absolutely negative. People would discard that shit. They would jettison that motherfucker like it never happened. And they would go in on Deontay. They would be protesting in Alabama, walking the streets. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Deontay, no, he shouldn't have stepped in there. Man, they would be coming up with everything that Deontay ever said about catching a body. Ban the bronze bomber. Ban the bronze bomber. Man, they'd be coming up. If he goes in there and knock Mike Tyson out and Mike doesn't get up on his own accord, and it takes him a little bit longer, or he gets put in the hospital. Listen, we already seen Deontay post fight with Fury. He's not gonna be on the mic like that, and I don't think the way he feels about Mike Tyson, if he was the goddamn blitzing and drop him, I don't know. It might go two ways, man. It might you might have the people that I just talked about that's vilifying him, and then you might have the individuals that say, "God damn, this shit is legendary." Deontay Wilder went in there, and I know Mike Tyson's been knocked out before, but Deontay Wilder dropped him. You're gonna have the hardcore Wilder fans be like, "Damn, that shit is motherfucking." This should be on social media easily for a year straight. If those two went in there and faced off, and something went down somewhat like, let's say for instance, the brawl that happened after Mayweather and Zab Judah, or either the brawls that we've seen before with Tyson, Lennox Lewis, shit like that. If you even think about the shit that would go down in the ring if Deontay Wilder was to drop Mike Tyson, at this point in Mike Tyson's life, when he's making a comeback, getting in shape, people look at him as a boxing icon. Deontay Wilder coming off a loss for the first time in his career against Fury. I don't know. It might work both ways. You might have the haters and you might have the lovers, man. You might have the hardcore Deontay Wilder fans that say, good. He should have never stepped in there with that young lion. And then you might have the older boxing heads say, you know what, that wasn't a good decision of Deontay Wilder, because they're going to keep on playing the clips back of when he said the bronze bomber looking to catch a body. And then another clip when he's saying, I'm serious. Shout out to Ohio Run Boxing Man in the building. What's good with you, Marcus? How you feel, bro? Ohio is in the building. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you for your support. Thanks for dropping through. And also appreciate the donation to the channel, man. Hey, your boy was on here on the topic conversation there, Marcus. Montana Love, his name popped up, and we was kind of chatting about it. Tay Jones mentioned him, and I was kind of like, I asked like, who's next? Maybe you can tell us, because you pretty much know the boxing scene over there. Who you think Montana's Love next matchup is gonna be? You know what I'm saying? Who you think he's gonna be in the ring with? Is gonna be a familiar name, or he's still just gonna be working himself, up and fighting fighters outside the top 15? Let me see. For Wilder, Mike Tyson is Lil Mac compared to Wilder. Man, you know what my point is in saying all of that, Hodge, is this. It will be good for the lens, man. It will be good for the lens. It'll be epic. Because a lot of what we see out here on social media is just Photoshop. But if we can get a true, clear picture of reality of Mike Tyson in his black trunks, black boots, Deontay Wilder standing all 6'7", facing off with one another, man. Come on, bro. That shit would be unfucking believable. That should be a picture for the decades, because having 41 knockouts and 42 victories, I mean, come on, man. You know, it's still gonna have people thinking like, could Deontay Wilder? Shit, could he? Because David Hay made a pretty decent point, which a lot of people just throwing shade on, but he makes some sense though. David Hay say he never seen Mike Tyson fight through adversity like that, come out of adversity and fight and win. Not saying he didn't take adversity, he didn't take no shots, but David Hay said he never seen Mike Tyson fight out of adversity. Ohio said, "What's good, everybody?" Hey, Ohio, man, do you know anything about Montana Love's? What's his next opponent gonna be? You know, him stepping up when he's due to step back in the ring or whatever. Have you heard anything in the streets? You know what I'm saying? Let us know, man. Let us know what you heard. I know you got the 411 over there, man. You got the bat phone. Anything dealing with boxing over there in Ohio, you know, they call up Ohio Run Boxing and say, hey, this was popping, put it on the presses. You know, I heard the boxing voice mention your name again, man. So it's good you have rapport like that, man, and they respecting your grind, bro. Real talk. I'm glad they're respecting your grind, man, and putting your name out there. And look, Ohio, he don't even have a YouTube channel. That's what's crazy. He only have a YouTube channel. But Wilder and Mike Tyson, for real, I think the frame to snap that up with them facing one another would be awesome. Tyson got to hit his face. Tyson swinging up. Wilder coming down with punches. Gravity is a factor. Pac-Man say not gonna happen. Hey man, it's fantasy. We're in a pandemic. We gotta talk some fantasy shit. I'm just saying, like, WWE been doing solid numbers during the motherfucking pandemic. I'm just saying sometimes boxing, it would be good, even though it's much more difficult, if they was to kind of take a little bit of that format. That should be legendary. I mean, just because people are so curious of what would have happened if these two would have stepped in there. You know, Deontay Wilder considered the hardest puncher in boxing, and Mike Tyson at that time when he was wrecking shop. For them to meet up with Mike Tyson in shape, facing off against Deontay Wilder in this era, it absolutely be in the media airways for a year easy. Easy. I mean, you're talking about pictures all over the internet. I mean, it would be it'd be so many topics that you can talk about. People be talking about, well, what if these two was to fight at this time? What if? It'd be so much to talk about, man. But I get it. It's good it's good banter, but it's not gonna happen. We know that shit. Because, like you said, hard to say that'll be goddamn Deontay first body, man. And it'll be all bad for real. Because for 1 minute, people be up here like they were talking about, oh, Mike Tyson and not Deontay Wilder. And then Deontay catch a body, they'd be like, he shouldn't have did that. Did that 53-year-old fighter that's been out the sport, hot boxing, smoking weed? He shouldn't even did him dirty like that. He shouldn't have did him dirty. Prime Tyson versus today Fury. Who wins? Prime Tyson versus today Fury. Now check this out though. That would be a better fight than what people think. And this is why I'm gonna say this, Don, because Tyson Fury has the style and the boxing IQ to cleverly box himself to a victory over some of these fighters with power. We've seen it. That's how he picked up the titles from Klitschko. That's how he was able to win the title from Deontay. That's why he's the person he is. He's a very clever type of dude that isn't afraid of using shit. Every type of tactic that's accessible to him, he'll use it. So him facing Mike Tyson, as long as he stay away and keep his distance and make it a boring ass fight. You know, Bone Crusher was the first one to go the distance with Mike, man. It's not like Tyson Fury couldn't do the same thing. It's not like he can't. But I guess you want to know who wins. That's a tough question, man. That's a tough question. Seriously. And I'm going to take it off the last 5 fights. Outside of Deontay Wilder's and Tyson Fury last fight at the MGM. I'm talking about the last 5 fights. We're talking about the Francisco Pianeta. We're talking about the Tom Schwartz, the Otto Whalen. We're talking about the Sefer Safaris. All right. And Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury won. So looking at that, Mike Tyson, I say Mike Tyson get the job done, in my opinion. Because I just look at the trouble that he had, you know, with Otto Whalen, and then the fighters that he faced, you know, that fit his profile, Tom Schwartz, Sefer Safari, and Francisco Pianeta. To get a dog, a savage like freaking Mike Tyson back in the day, one thing Mike Tyson had, he moved his head. You know what I'm saying? He had good lateral offensive onslaughts that he can apply his damn hooks to the body and uppercuts. You know, at certain fighters, he did implement his jab a lot. You got to give him his credit. And then a lot of people take for granted how good of a chin Mike Tyson had too, man. He had a respectable chin, man. But for the people who really don't know the backstory, you know, with him partying, not training for fights the way he should and all that, yeah, he faced some adversity. But I'm saying Mike Tyson, he got hit by some big dudes back then, and he was still coming forward. Mike went to the body, absolutely. And we all know Tyson Fury's body is there. We know Tyson Fury's body. I have to give the edge to Mike Tyson. I can't see. You know, your question was a prime. And I'm one of those people who really don't use the prime label because everybody prime is different. Like, everybody's prime is different. So I don't even know what the fuck a prime is. When you talking about B-Hop, what's a prime? So I get what you're saying, though. Ohio Run Boxing said, Love supposed to headline on Showbox this year in November. But I don't believe it's going to be against a top 20 opponent. I think it's going to be a showcase fight, to be honest. All right. I mean, I think his fans would probably like to see him back in the square, period. You know? Oh, okay. You say you at work. All right, got it. Cool. Appreciate the donation, man. Thanks for dropping through anyway while you're at work. Real talk. Hodges Fury. So you think Fury wins against a prime Mike Tyson? I can't see it when Mike Tyson was still on the hunt. I don't know, man. Like I told you, Tyson Fury has the skill to make the fight boring enough to win, and and make an opponent that will usually be dangerous to everybody else in the worst way. Tyson Fury's ring IQ is absolutely to be respected, and how he's able to manipulate the process. That is how Tyson Fury is blessed with. He can wrangle himself and be able to work himself through a fight against a person that seemingly should go in there and knock his ass out, but he can make it boring enough, hold when he needs to, use his body weight, make it like paint, drying on a motherfucking hot wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can make it that way. But then you think about Mike Tyson, how much an animal, a goddamn tenacious lion he was back then, a honey badger, mongoose to a motherfucking cobra. Mike Tyson was a savage back then. Could Tyson Fury handle the body work that was coming his way? And then once he got Tyson Fury, once he was able to get Tyson Fury to start to fold over a little bit, we all know Mike loved exclamating that shit with an uppercut. So could Tyson Fury withstand that power? That's just the fantasy world we live in, man. But damn good question. Damn good question, man. Fury range would give him problems. Facts. Yeah, we'll give Mike Tyson some issues. If also we looking at the way he fought Deontay Wilder the first time and the way he fought him the second time. Now, you know, also you can look at the way he fought Otto Wallen. Otto Wallen had success with Tyson Fury. You know what I'm saying? Otto Wallen is not Mike Tyson. So therefore, if we're talking about range, well, Otto Wallen, he wasn't a real short dude, stocky like Mike Tyson, but yet he was still able to get in there and he was able to do some damage and make Tyson Fury wear the fight. That takes me back to Mike Tyson's jab. Very respectable, thorough, and a lot of people don't give him credit for it because he was knocking motherfuckers out. How you say Lennox, Buster, etc. He lose to taller people. Well, we know for a fact when he fought Buster Douglas wasn't supposed to get up. But we also know this I know this for a fact from talking to people back then that was around Mike Tyson, is that Mike Tyson was partying and he was doing, you know, allegedly, okay, partying, women, drugs, and everything else. And they basically told him he didn't have to train for Buster Douglas because this is going to be an easy fight. So Mike Tyson really didn't put forth max effort to go in there and train the way he's supposed to against Buster Douglas. Everybody knows this shit. So we really didn't have a full-fledged Mike Tyson in there fighting Buster Douglas. I'm talking about his condition being 100% as if he was really going in there to do work and treat Buster Douglas with respect. His people told him, don't worry about that shit. Buster Douglas isn't going to give you any problems. He ain't that type of fighter. Don't worry about it. It'll be an easy one, Mike. You got this, Mike. And Mike Tyson was out there fucking, you know, goddamn a room full of bitches and goddamn partying and doing all that other shit and came in there and Buster got off the damn canvas. Buster Douglas like, shit, not tonight. I'm doing this for my mama. And you know what happened? When you're doing something for people who are past, it brings, for some people, brings a whole nother type of energy to it. So Buster Douglas, man, he got off the canvas. It say, shit, tonight is tonight. And he got it done, man. It was epic. I'm not gonna lie, I lost some money on that fight. I did. I lost some money. I wish to God I would have had the gambling know-how or the savviness to bet on Buster Douglas that night. Just like I wish I would have betted on freaking Andy Ruiz. I really look back on that shit. I say, God damn, I wish I would have bet the house on Andy Ruiz, man. Um, but that's good shit. Appreciate that, Ohio. And also shout out to Ohio Run Boxing for the donation again, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Always support, man. Continue to do your thing out there in Ohio, man. Keep on setting a good example for boxing and covering those fighters in that grid square on that footprint. Real talk. Hodges said Lennox keep um Lennox keep him away. Watch the fight. Mike couldn't get close. Facts. Now, Hodges, I ain't disagreeing with you on Lennox. I ain't disagreeing with you on Lennox. My narrative was coinciding with Buster Douglas the night he beat Mike Tyson. For Lennox Lewis just gave Mike Tyson the business. Period. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Lennox Lewis used every bit of what we know him to have as a boxer. He's a dangerous fighter. And even to this day, Lennox Lewis, both his losses are knockouts. People don't really look at, both his losses being knockouts. You know what I'm saying? People don't look at the Oliver McCall. They don't look at the Hasim Rock. They look at Leonard as being one of those guys who was able to be undisputed and has his reputation for stepping in there with some pretty solid names to his body of work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people got mad love for Lennox Lewis, even from beating. I look at it this way. Let me ask y'all a question. Who do you think they have more love for in defeating Mike Tyson? Evander Holyfield or Lennox Lewis? Who do they have more love for? Lennox Lewis defeating Mike Tyson or Holyfield? Which one radiates more favor from the boxing community and the hardcore fight fans? Holyfield, Mike Tyson, or Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson? Ohio Run Boxing said, I still believe Buster Douglas would have won because he lost his mother 2 days before the fight. It's hard to beat anybody who's determined to win, especially losing a mother who believed in him. Yeah, I agree. I can't disagree with that. I even said to myself, when it comes to somebody's, that's fighting in the spirit of a loved one that passed, especially in the hurt business, you get that different type of energy internally, different type of motivation. Buster Douglas might have freaking trained his ass off, and I don't know. I've heard different stories, man. But the one thing that sticks like glue is the fact that Mike Tyson did not train accordingly to go in there and defeat Buster Douglas, because the word that they gave him was, you don't have too much to worry about. It's going to be an easy night. And when he dropped Buster Douglas, we was like, okay, that's normal. Shit. All right. We were saying ourselves, okay, we seen this shit before. All right. Cool. But when Buster Douglas got up, and this dude was like a goddamn renewed, like the combinations Buster Douglas was putting together was beautiful. The way he boxed Mike Tyson, damn, I was like, this is what I'm talking about. Heavyweight boxing at its finest. Buster fought every bit of his range and height. Man, his speed looked tremendous. It was a beautiful performance on the rebound to watch. The way Buster Douglas delivered against Mike Tyson that night. It was beautiful, man. I'm not going to lie. To see that dude come up and the way he put the brakes on freaking Mike Tyson and earn that moment in the boxing history, it was tremendous. It was very special, period. And I really don't know if I'm able to agree there, Ohio, that Buster Douglas would have had the same results if a focused Mike Tyson would have came in there? You know what I'm saying? I don't know, bro. I seen Mike Tyson take some punishment, and he still pushed through it. But I don't know, man. I can't give Buster Douglas that satchel of credit like that, because before he stepped in there with Mike Tyson, who can we reference? Who can we reference that Buster Douglas can goddamn go in there and give Mike Tyson that trained his ass off doing fight camp, not partying, not doing extracurricular activities, and to go in there and have Buster Douglas give him the business and stay, and sustain whatever damage and make it to the championship rounds or whatever, or even stop Mike Tyson again if he had a full camp. I don't know, man. That's just in hindsight. I just don't know that I can ever agree on that. I think Mike Tyson, fully focused, potentially would have stopped Buster Douglas. Even with his mom on his mind, I just think it's a tough question. It's tough. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. Seriously, it's tough to think about. Sir Ken in the building. What's good? What's good? Salute. It says salute both of those guys. I watched the ring walk of Tyson and Douglas. Mike didn't look right to me. I mean, there you go, man. I'm not sure if you're saying in person or online, but if you watch the ring walk in person, damn, there must have been a special moment to see those individuals walk out, for that night, especially. But I've spoken to some people that was around Mike. I'm talking about over 2-hour conversation that I couldn't record, else I wouldn't have got the shit. But just for common knowledge, they say it was a lot of freaking extra activity going on with Mike. Seriously. Like, he wasn't even training consistently leading up to that fight. He wasn't even training like a fight camp should be. He wasn't even freaking, on a proper diet. Wasn't doing road work, man. I'm telling you, man, it was a whole different regiment for Mike that he didn't participate in because he was out there having fun. It's well documented, whether people want to recognize it or not. It's well documented that Mike Tyson was nowhere close to what he should have been if he had took his training camp serious and not been indulging in extracurricular activities and partying and everything else. Seriously, we even seen it from other fighters. We've seen that shit from other fighters that don't perform. Even Errol Spence said he made the Sean Porter fight more difficult because he had to cut from 189 to 147. Errol Spence said that shit recently. So if Errol Spence is saying this today, then imagine all the fighters that's in between that fraction leading back to Mike Tyson. And then not even that, right? Think about the fighters from Mike Tyson all the way back when they was fighting several freaking times a month. What was going on in their mind? What were they doing after the fight? A lot of people like to say, oh, they was fighting cans. Possibly, hell yeah. Some of these fighters wasn't even in training camp. It's a fact. Some of these fighters back then that was fighting and building their records up, some of the fighters that they were stepping in there with, they didn't have to go to training camp for. They just going off. The fights were so close together, they was hopping out the ring and back in the ring, and beating up guys that they knew that was easy work for them. But good point, Sir Ken. Real talk. Ohio Run Boxing say Don King said they picked Buster because he was a known quitter. Hey man, Don King, goddamn USA. Don King was a part of a lot back then, man. I can't go into it. It's too late. But yeah, man, they picked Buster Douglas because he wasn't that threat that they was thinking about. Seriously, I'm telling you, man. They thought Buster Douglas was gonna stay down. And he had the orders. He's going in there against one of the most prominent, notable names that you can talk about in boxing at the time. You know how many people got their kneecap busted that night? They couldn't pay their debt? Do you know how many people physicality changed on the night Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas? People's lives changed. People bet so much money on Mike Tyson, it was a no-brainer, y'all. Mike Tyson was a killer. So for him to go in there and get stopped by Buster Douglas with the odds that was placed on that fight was just, oh my God, astronomical. Buster Douglas was the perfect opponent based on his past boxing history for Mike as tune-up. Yeah, it was just all the way around, man. That shit. But Buster Douglas was the right opponent, y'all. I'm telling you. Sir Ken said he admitted on one of his podcasts he was high on the night of the fight. Damn. And that pretty much compliment what I was saying about the person who I was speaking with. You know, they was telling me the inside. They even told me some things about Muhammad Ali. And you know, people tend to look at Muhammad Ali as this person that cannot be talked about negatively because he went through the Parkinson's and everything. That has nothing to do with reporting. But I got some real scoop that for knowledge wise, I was just able to put. It would have been good to get on video, of course. But, you know, certain individuals in the boxing tales that happen, there's no way that you can goddamn take out a recorder or even breach the integrity to even record the conversation without the person that's talking knowing it. That's not right. I don't believe in that shit. I always ask the question, but if you look at Muhammad Ali loss to Leon Spinks, man, I got an amazing story about that night. Amazing story. And if you look at the record in BoxRec, you know, Leon Spinks 7-0. Come on, bro. What'll do with that record stepping up Muhammad Ali and for the title and defeats him and then come back Muhammad Ali defeated? That wasn't what it was. You can take it from what it's worth. I'm not gonna get into it right now. It's good for a whole nother day. But Ali losing to a fight that was 7-0 and hearing what went on that night, that fight week, what was the arrangement and everything else. A lot of people don't want to look at that because they just look at Muhammad Ali as who he is, but they don't look at say, excuse me? Leon Spinks? Excuse me? His mother passing played a big part to me. Plus, Buster wasn't scared or intimidated like most of Mike's opponents was before the fight. Yeah, it looked that way. Once you become a celeb behind closed doors, often wild and loose. I can't imagine, man. You know, Buster not being scared. He didn't look scared, but I'm not sure if a person who's known to quit a lot isn't a fearful type of person. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that wasn't Buster Douglas. Like, Buster Douglas might have been so deep into the moment with his mom passing, his mind might have not been on the fight 100% when he was facing a killer like Mike Tyson. But more and more he got into the fight and what was going on and how much it meant to him to be in there with Mike Tyson. And when he finally was dropped and he, you know, had to go through a whole thought process, he was thinking about his mom. He was thinking about Mike Tyson hitting him. He was talking about he was thinking about the magnitude of the fight. What it would be, how is he feeling? How would it be if he was to get up off the canvas? And he might have generated all that vortex of energy to get off the canvas and go blitz Mike the way he did and blaze him. All that thought process meshed together and generated all that damn energy that Buster Douglas potentially may have never had if he didn't have his mom on his mind. That's just something you have to think about. You know what I'm saying? You just have to think about that shit. Like when Buster Douglas got hit, he's on the canvas, the magnitude of the fight, the fighter he's in there with, his mom, all the time, that he spent with his mom, him as a fighter, potentially what he hasn't accomplished as a fighter. I could take you through the Rolodex just over and over again, but you can't imagine the kaleidoscope that was going on in his thought process when he was in that fight, the time he got dropped and got up and he started going to work. It had to be a lot of shit that was on his mind. Real talk, people. Real talk. The good shit there, Sir Ken. Thanks. So how you run boxing? Yeah, for sure. Sir Ken said, once you become a celeb behind closed doors, it's often wild and loose. And it's a lot of stories throughout combat sports in general, especially back in the day with boxing, and up to this point, in a sense, that fighters on certain levels are caught up in situations. That goes for Hollywood too. That goes from celebrities in general. You get the money, you get the notoriety, you go to the certain parties. And to be honest with you, some of the wildest parties I ever went to was in California. Was on the West Coast. I can tell you when I went in the court 17 and I was up there cutting hair, making all this extra money. So I took a bus ride from where my school was down to Hollywood, underage, got into a club that was 21, 22 or older. I look every bit of 17 at the time, out the city. All I had to do was pay a runner. They was able to get me into the club. You pay them a certain, I wasn't even worried about, the fee. The toll across the bridge was cool. It wasn't that much. So I even got in there. That's the first time I seen, like, I'm walking around that motherfucker out of ATL now. And I'm looking at this club. I want to say the club name so bad, but I don't even think it's there no more. It was Hollywood Live. I'm walking around there and the motherfuckers doing drugs. Motherfuckers having sex. People dancing. People doing some of everything. And a part of me was like, wow, they actually do this shit? Like, they actually allow this to happen? And then I say, you know what? When I come out this motherfucker, because look, the guy told me, you can get in the club, but don't go up there and order no drink, right? It made sense. Don't go order no drink. But once you get up in the club, they have people familiar with people, individuals that's coming in through that entry that's been let in a special invitation, so to speak, right? So they will kind of feel you out there, come over and talk to you and kind of get to know what you're doing down here. And they always pick out service members, by our haircut or the way we clean, right? So you have people that can get you a drink, but of course you got to pay more than what the average person would pay. Yeah, man, that's how it was. Anyway, enough of that shit. A lot of people say that his mother being in his head, won that fight for him. I'm pretty sure, Buster Douglas had a lot more energy than he would have if he was a quitter to stand up and fight on and win the war. Hell yeah, his mother was motivating him. And we don't know what his mom might have been saying to him spiritually in the heat of battle, man, for him to take that shit past the finish line. We don't know. He might have seen something in Mike Tyson that he felt that he can beat him that night. He might have seen it. But people, and I heard people who was there, like Mike Tyson was having fun leading up to that fight. Mike Tyson had no reservations at all about stepping through the ropes and going there, getting an easy win against Buster Douglas. That's real. That's real, people. Absolutely. It happens in boxing, and we all know all the stories of Mike Tyson and how he's living a fast life. And you know what's simply um what's the word I'm looking for to describe Mike Tyson's acceptance at this point in his life. It's amazing what he's went through as a fighter and what he was subjected to in doing time and all the criminality that he was a part of. Coming out of the gutter, being in being in the company of Customato, a person that really didn't know how to read and shit. They took him up there to fight, and then he ended up educating himself and stuff like that, coming from the mud, so to speak, coming up through the ranks of boxing, being successful, doing what he did, paid the price, paid the ticket, right? Marriage, personal life, up to that point of retiring and people looking at him like a boxing god, man. Even though there's some some very fine layers that you can peel back Mike Tyson's record of who he won and the people that he lost to when he should have won. People look at that shit in boxing. They very meticulous about scrubbing records. If you really want to be somewhat of a historian or a person that does research. But a lot of people look at Mike Tyson for his history and his highlight reel knockouts and how much of a devastating fighter that he was back then. That's how people view and respect Mike. But outside of retirement, Mike Tyson walk on deck, people just say, God damn, that's Mike. With the tattoo, that's Mike. Mike Tyson's an OG in the game. You know he's that dude. Mike Tyson's that dude. And I'm glad to see that the public in so many ways have allowed him to get somewhat of a waiver. That's all I can say about that. The general public has been able to give Mike Tyson a waiver to accept him. And when there's some people out there that isn't accepted and they did less than Mike Tyson, they still not accepted. Seriously. They not accepted, man. So salute to the OG, man. You did tremendous feats in the sport of boxing, man. You had a hard, long road, man. You had a long road up to the top, man, but you maneuvered through it. You basically was able to surpass or supersede the obstacles that was in your life, even with the ups and downs, man. You're talking about Mike Tyson who bit off Vander Holyfield's ear. Savage, y'all. Mike Tyson who goddamn made Mitch Green eye look a little different. You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson was that guy. Mike Tyson was in so many. I mean, even look at the brawl, the situation that happened with him and Lennox Lewis. Man, the way he addressed the brother who wanted to try to bring up his rape case when he was doing the interview. He just told that motherfucker to his face, "You're a rat piece of shit." You motherfucker. I'm Mike Tyson. Don't sit up here and try to put me on camera and talk about something I paid the price for already like this relevant. And I'm up here sitting next to a politician that supports me. He said, "You're a rat piece of shit, man." But thanks for the comments. That shit was on point. Solid content. And once again, whenever it's a catch weight, catch weight in boxing happens more often than none. That's when I'm strictly going to be talking about boxing from now, when I absolutely put it up here on my thumbnails. And Muddy Flats, of course, is MMA. And my knowledge for that is, will be explained when I basically do the live streams for MMA. But since I'm one of those channels who taught boxing and MMA, I just want to separate the episodes so they won't intertwine with one another. Because what I do know is that fans, if they don't know what you're going to talk about, they won't tune in. So whenever it's a catchweight EP, it's going to be strictly boxing. And the Muddy Flats episode is going to be mixed martial arts. And that's, if you see the thumbnail up there and it's catchweight, you know it's going to be strictly boxing. So that will filter out some of the mixed martial arts audience that come over here and always may talk about mixed martial arts all the time, and then some of the boxing that love to talk about boxing. But I'm not gonna just dissect and say, you know what, I'm gonna exclude talking mixed martial arts because the fan base is smaller, and just talking strictly boxing, because definitely it will be much more traction. But I'll be depleting myself of education. I just can't do it because I follow every sport for long extensive time equally. So anyway, for those of you that tuned in, man, it's always a pleasure. Real talk. Thank you for supporting the channel. Those who donated, Ohio Run Boxing. Appreciate the chat, my brother. Stay Ready Boxing TV that pulled up. The Wrenches. Appreciate you. D Hodges. Tay Jones. All y'all that stopped through. Salute. Sir Ken. And turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports. Salute.